Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central CFL content for the fans, by the fans. Here we go. Rick.
Yes.
We're at the
one for all the marbles.
2025 CFL playoffs. We've been waiting all year for it, and we're doing the East semifinal. And my Bombers
the man from the boys
have crossed over to the East, and will be facing the red-hot Montreal Alouettes, potentially the hottest team in the league right now, in terms of when they got all their guys in terms of how much they had shot up from where they were. This is going to be a bloodbath. This is going to be a very close game. I do not think that either team blows the other out of the water here. And so this is very interesting as well, because in week 21, these teams just went against each other. Obviously, Winnipeg wins that game. However, both teams, I'm not going to say both teams sitting a substantial number of starters, as Montreal did not sit a substantial amount. However, the few that they did sit were players that were a substantial role, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In terms of Sneed and, of course, their starting quarterback, Davis Alexander, who's currently on, is it a 10-game win streak? Is that correct? Or is it 11?
11, I think.
It's either 10 or 11 games. He has not lost a game in which he has started. So we are something's going to give, you know what I mean? In the sense of, in this game, we are either going to see Winnipeg 11 games. So either in the result of this game, either Davis Alexander's winning streak comes to an end and Winnipeg advances to the East Final, or Winnipeg's 5 consecutive Grey Cup game streak comes to an end and Montreal faces Hamilton. One of two will happen. It won't be both.
So here's the thing with that record is, even if he loses in the playoffs, it doesn't affect his record because CFL is only counting it as a season record, not playoffs. I know, but here's the thing. The CFL officially isn't counting it, but everybody is. You know what I mean? Everybody in the sense of that everybody's counting it in the sense of that it's not like it's a preseason game that doesn't matter. You going to tell me the playoffs doesn't matter? I'd argue playoffs matter even more. And so, even though his regular season record won't be affected, I'll put it this way. If Montreal wins this game, are you going to hear anybody talking about Davis Alexander, 12 straight wins? Do you think somebody would mention that? I bet your ass somebody would mention that. And rightfully so, if they do. So, as much as the CFL only considers it a regular season record, nobody and nobody's grandma gives a shit. And so everybody's thinking about what this is in practice, you know what I mean? As opposed to what it is on paper. Because that's kind of one of the big matchups with this game is the talent on paper versus in practice. So firstly, we need to talk about potential injuries and who could be held out of this game going in. So we always start with the away team first. And so on Winnipeg, there is one big fat question mark. And the answer is Nicholas Dembski. Nick Dembski, does he play? Does he not play? Nick Dembski is a receiver that has been a big factor on the Bombers. There is a reason that he was named a West Division All-Star this year. He was very, very good. There was a point in the season, not near the end, but there's a point in the season where most outstanding Canadian was considered for Nick Dembski. But his momentum didn't keep up quite the way to get to that, as Nathan Rourke was really starting to make a lot of a noise, and now he's kind of your main nominee that everyone's looking towards. How is it looking with Nick Dembski, Rick, based on the information? So we're talking, because this is not a 30th, so we'll take it as face value. The 29th.
Okay.
So as of the 29th, the last time I can see anything from a practice is that Dembski was dressed, but no helmet, did not take part in drills
as of the 28th.
Yeah.
Strevler was in street clothes. We obviously know that he's not. He had a brace on his knee. We obviously know that he's not playing. Vadville was back returning field goals after he had the week off of rest. Joey Corcoran was in the starters taking over for Clarcius, even though Clarcius was there and dressed. Cam Lawson was on the sidelines in street clothes, so Colin Cornelison was taking his spots, but those are the only things that I can hear or see.
Yeah. Because I think Winnipeg, for the most part, is pretty healthy. The only big question is Dembski. That's kind of your only big question. How is it on the Alouette side of things? Because the Alouettes had a few players get hurt in that last game against Winnipeg, so I know there's some questions.
So, Dallaire did not practice. Sneed is full. Mustafa Johnson did not practice. Yulgolnak did not practice. Seontae Evans did not practice. Collender was limited. Stevie Scott was limited. T. Richards did not practice. Sean Thomas Erlington was full. Travis Thice was full. Ventrelli was limited, and Letcher Jr. was full.
Yeah. Now, the other question I have here is Davis Alexander is obviously going to be the starter for Montreal. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, do we believe he's 100%? The reason I'm asking is you watched that game against Ottawa, where I think you said it was his elbow got hit pretty good.
So,
and he looked shaken up.
So he banged his elbow off the ground.
Okay.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
And then he kept on rubbing it. So I would say going into last week, I would say he was probably going into last week probably like 85-90%.
Yeah. So we think he's mostly pretty good, but maybe it's something that is probably still within the realm of if he gets hit the wrong way, it could be a problem. So I want to go through the entire roster here, and I want to kind of discuss where each team is better, who has the advantage, who has the disadvantage. Firstly, we got to start with the quarterbacks. Now, with this has got to be one of the most difficult QB matchups to compare. And the reason why I'm saying this is simple. Davis Alexander, he's a new quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's done very, very well. The question is, when it comes to playoffs, does he pass the smell test? In the sense of, like, is this going to translate to playoff success? Because it doesn't always. And sometimes it's one of those things, you're a rookie quarterback, you do really good in the playoffs, but that veteran presence just is unbeat. Like a great example, I'll say. Winnipeg in the West Final, numerous years against Nathan Rourke. Nathan Rourke didn't play bad. It's just Zach Collaros was another kind of animal there. And this is where Collaros is such a difficult quarterback to judge. Zach Collaros has been very huck-hold through the season in the sense of when Zach Collaros was locked in, dude was making throws that I would argue almost no quarterback in the league could make. However, when he was having a bad game, it was bad. And that was problematic because one thing I think we can undeniably say, Rick, is that the Alouettes have better quarterback depth in the sense of if Alexander and Collaros both go down, the tide shifts towards the Alouettes. I think Bethel Thompson and Shea Patterson is a better duo than Strevler and Wilson. Because that's the thing. Strevler, his arm is brutal. Now, actually, firstly, we have to take Strevler out of the picture here because Strevler is injured. Because actually, we forgot to mention Nick Dembski is going to be hurt into this game. He's a question mark. Strevler's not playing the playoffs. That injury he got last game, there's no way. He was putting there was no weight on it. I watched it right in front of me. The post he put on Instagram, there is not a chance he plays a single game in playoffs, which means that then the Bombers go to Terry Wilson and Chase Artopias. Not that these guys aren't capable, but it's that they're just a big fat question mark where Bethel Thompson, as much as he's kind of washed, is one of those things where he is a guy who's been there, done that. And Shea Patterson has a decent backup resume behind him, despite not getting a ton of time with the Alouettes. So, quarterback duo, in my opinion, is up in the air, because if this is just based on regular season performance, I would maybe give the slight edge to Davis Alexander, but playoff Collaros is a different animal. And so I don't think you can count that out. Shall we move to the offensive line, Rick?
If you want.
We're going to move to the offensive line. And this is where I think the Alouettes have the advantage here. The O-line in Winnipeg, as much as they have had games where they have played fantastic, they've had so many games that have just been a problem. Now, one thing I do want to look into, which is kind of important of note. Firstly, last week, the Bombers played the majority of the O-line. Obviously, Stanley Bryant, their best O-lineman, was not playing. But even with that, 1, 2, 3 sacks for the Alouettes. If we're going back to week 12, which is where everyone was playing all their starters regarding O-line and D-line, the Alouettes got 2 sacks. Adiemi Berglund and Najee Murray. Najee Murray. And so, and then if I'm looking at the Bomber, if I'm just looking at because the Bombers had not recorded any sacks against them in week 12. So the Alouette O-line held strong. And I remember their O-line being relatively strong in terms of not necessarily that they have the best O-linemen in the world. They just work well as a unit, which is the most important thing. And then last week, Jenkins and Jarowski had done well. So I think the Alouettes O-line gets a slight advantage here. But again, the Bomber O-line, depending on the given night, can sometimes put up a bit of a better performance. So I'd say in general that probably favors the Alouettes a bit over the Bombers. Do you have any thoughts on that, or not as much?
No, I'm just letting you go through the depth chart because there's a few things that I wanted to discuss after. So I'm just letting you go through all the depth charts and everything.
Next, we go to the running back position. Rick, is this a debate, or is this not a debate? Brady Oliveira is the best running back between these two, and it's not close.
Okay, so to answer your question, it's more of a debate between Oliveira and Hogan.
The debate is Brady Oliveira is a better running back, but the question is, does he get to play? So that is a huge factor. Jason Hogan's play calling of Brady Oliveira has been very hit and miss. Now, if you're Brady Oliveira, I think you go to Jason Hogan's like, hey, you remember the way you played me in week 12 against the Alouettes? Play me like that. And you may ask, why, Carter? Why would you say that? The answer, 16 rushes for Brady Oliveira that game, 137 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, an average of 8.6. He ran routes on the Alouettes. And when I say ran routes, that's because he also led the team in receiving yards that game. Rushing and receiving yards, 73 yards receiving. He was just great. He, all in all, had a total of 210 all-purpose yards in that game against Montreal. He was a problem for the Alouettes. When utilized properly, Brady Oliveira is a dangerous threat for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The big question is, does Jason Hogan use them properly in that regard? The good news for the Bombers is I would probably argue that even their backup, Matthew Peterson, he even might be a little bit better than Scott III. Matthew Peterson has done very, very well whenever
he's been implemented. Because I think the Alouettes' offensive line does very, very well in their pass protection, but their run blocking just isn't the same. And so that's one area where I think the Bombers have a very definitive advantage over the Alouettes. Now, going to the receiving department, this is where the Alouettes got you know what it is. When the Alouettes, you know how like growing up, you had that kid in the neighborhood that just had all the best toys, and he had the toy cars and he had all the good ones. This is kind of the Alouettes with their receivers, where they have Speaker, Mac, Philpott, Rambo, Sneed. They have the Swiss Army knife. They can just kill you with like 10 different things. And so if you're the Bombers, the defense on that is going to be key. Whereas the Bombers just don't have quite the same depth. They do have some really big stars, Dembski obviously being one of them. He's not going to be in the lineup most likely. Ontario Wilson is a dangerous threat. Stearns is okay, a little inconsistent at times. Clercius can be kind of a calming presence, possession receiver at times. Wheatfall, at the start of the season, looked like he was going to break out and as this not quite, but almost Kenny Lawler kind of receiver. We never really that didn't stick around. But Ontario Wilson is absolutely that key there. And then obviously Dalton Schoen still out. We're not going to see him in the playoffs for Winnipeg. That's right. Dalton Schoen is still on the roster. Everybody forgets about it. And so I think this is an advantage that the Alouettes have. And so I think that's probably fair to say. Would you agree with that?
Fair.
If we're just going to quickly go to special teams before we go to the defense, Sergio Castillo has the edge over Maltos Diaz, although Maltos Diaz is not a bad kicker. Just Sergio Castillo just has a bit more experience with some of those longer kicks than Maltos Diaz has. I'm not going to compare long snappers because it's just who gives a shit. And same with punters. It's just, although I think Sheehan has done very well. Kick returners, Trey Vavel, he has the advantage there. Although Philpott is able to do decent, Benjamin at times comes in. Trey Vavel, we're looking at probably the best returner in the league this year in terms of performance, which is why he's the Bombers nominee for the MOR, the Most Outstanding Rookie Award of the Year. And I think that's fair to say. Like, as much as I understand I'm a biased Bomber fan, but I feel like it's fair to say that Trey Vavel has the edge in the returning department, as that has been able, to be honest, that's been the deciding factor of some games for Winnipeg. He's just that good. Now, one big thing here, and this is where, depending on the status of some of the guys in Montreal, this could influence this decision. The question is, defensive line, who has the advantage? As with the Alouettes, with Mustafa Johnson not practicing, with Dallaire not practicing, especially Mustafa Johnson, though, that's the big one. That could be a very big loss for the Alouettes' defensive line, which could be a problem when dealing with a running game if Hogan uses Brady Oliveira to his full potential.
Don't forget they still have Sean Lemon and Oakman too.
That's true. That's true. Although I think Mustafa Johnson is he was the starter for a reason. You know what I mean? Although
no, I'm just saying, like, if he couldn't go, there's other players that
there are other guys that can fill that spot and that can do a fair job. No, that's true. On the Bomber side of things, you got the bookends, Willie Jefferson and James Vaughters. Willie Jefferson, kind of the big problem that the Alouettes could have with him is just that big wingspan of his. He's knocking balls out of the air left, right, and center. And because that's the thing, is that your receiving game can have problems, not because your quarterback's doing anything wrong, not because your receivers are doing anything wrong. It's just you have a big Willie Jefferson in front of you, and that's a problem. And so that can be problematic. You got Thomas the Tank Engine in there at nose tackle, Jake Thomas, and then you got Woods as well as a very, very capable defensive tackle. And so I think in regards to defensive lines,
I'm gonna say I'm gonna call it a tie. Although I think on a given night you can give the edge to one over the other, and it will also depend on the status of guys like Mustafa Johnson and if they end up playing or not. Which then brings us to the linebacker core: Kyrie Wilson, Tony Jones, and Retta Cramdy for the Bombers. A very formidable linebacker core against Beverett, Sankey, and Murray in terms of two very, very strong linebacker cores for both teams. I think that pretty much cancels out as well. Which then leaves us with the secondary. With Demario Houston, Nichols, Allen, Holm, and Parker for Winnipeg against Burns, Sutton, Dequoy, Evans, and Ento. I would give the slight edge to Winnipeg based on their recent performance. I think that was a secondary that took a while to really get going. But if we're looking at them, even just last week, for example, obviously Davis Alexander not playing, and Bethel Thompson playing, the Alouettes had almost all their receivers, their starters in. But the Bombers secondary kept them to not much. If we look at even Winnipeg's game before against Saskatchewan, they kept Saskatchewan only 16 there. And Saskatchewan, they were resting a lot of guys. I'll give credit where credit's due. They had done pretty well though against the guys that were in there. And so if we even look again at that game just a few weeks ago, week 17 against Hamilton, they gave up 3 points to the Ticats. That's it, nothing else. And so when they're locked in, when they're playing the way they can be very, very good. And it's taken them a while to really find their stride in that regard. Now, if we look at the Alouettes, as much as they lost last week, they still gave up less than 20 points. They had done very, very well in that. However, a game that's a little concerning, they had all of their starters in against the worst team in the league, the Ottawa Redblacks. They gave up 28 points against them. So if you're the Alouettes, that's a problem. You can't afford to give that much up. And so I think this is an area where the Bombers get the slight edge. But again, on the given night, the Alouettes can have that there. Is there anything there that you want to add in or anything you disagree with there, Rick?
As far as what you said?
Yeah, just regarding
or
any
just
of that.
in general?
Just in general, any of that.
No, not really. So
I'm trying to be as fair as possible.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to go over a few different things that I've seen on CFL.ca. So with the East semifinal, so this is just some history on these two teams. So Montreal has actually hosted, this is their 4 consecutive playoff game that they've hosted. Both teams actually met in the playoffs twice, in 2000 and 2007, with each team winning once. Montreal owns a 28-11 .718 playoff record. Winnipeg has made the playoffs 9 straight seasons. The team last played on the road playoff game in 2019. Bombers are 24-33, .421 as a visiting team in the postseason. Again, Bombers swept both Montreal 26-13 and 19-10. Mike O'Shea is 7-3 in the playoffs, whereas Jason Moss is 5-4. This will make Claris's 9th playoff start 7-1, whereas Davis is at his first. In the series, Sankey had 15 defensive tackles. You already mentioned Brady Oliveira's numbers. Tony Jones had 11 defensive tackles and 1 interception. For the storylines, the 3 storylines to watch in the East semifinal, the kid versus the vet, as in Alexander versus Claros.
Yep.
Winnipeg as the crossover team. You have defense wins championship. So how you're saying both teams, their defense stood out this year. We have 4 matchups that will decide who will win, who will move on in the division semifinals. You have Dylan Wynn and Mustafa Johnson versus Brady Oliveira. Zach Claris versus himself, depending on what Zach Claris we get. So the three strengths for Montreal is back to the top of the heap. Defense. They get after ya, which is the Montreal's defense. And obviously Montreal's offense for Winnipeg. They match up well on the ground. Get that garbage out of here, as the Winnipeg defense hasn't pulled down a lot of interceptions in 25. They're ranked last in the category with just 13. And lightning in the bottle is your good old returner, Vadville. Finished third in CFL in combined yards of 2,266. And then, last but not least, we have 4 under-the-radar players that could tip the scale. So you have Michael Ayers for linebacker for Winnipeg. Joseph Zima for Montreal, the punter. And those are the only 2. Oh, and one other thing. So the X factors for the East semifinal is Davis Alexander's nerves, which Zach Claris shows up, and which defense wins the day.
And they did all that, and they forgot to mention arguably maybe the most important thing.
What's that? No, these were just different articles.
Oh, okay. Do you want to know what maybe the most important thing is?
What's that?
Did Jason Hogan get enough sleep, and is he going to be happy, or is he going to be cranky, and he's going to be like, Brady Oliveira, he's not playing. He's not playing. I'm cranky, and Brady Oliveira gets no time. How does Jason Hogan view his MOP franchise running back?
Okay, so let me ask you this then. So, how much? Because I know that you said it's going to be a close game, and I'm just using this as an example. How much of a lead would you say Montreal would have to get before they just go to the throw game? Because you obviously know
before they just go to the what game?
The throwing game. Because when teams don't have are behind by a certain amount of points, they stop with the running and they just start.
Like throwing. You're saying, how much of a lead?
So, for example, would you say it's like a 20-point lead?
Okay, but hold on a second. I need to understand the question a little bit better. Are you saying how much of a lead would Montreal need to be ahead by for Winnipeg to just start throwing?
Yes. Would you say it's like a 20-point lead? Because obviously they're still going to throw at Brady regardless.
I'm gonna say over 2 touchdowns. So that would be at
14.
least over 16, including 2-point conversions. So over 16 by counting the 2-point conversions with that. Now keep in mind, when I say go to the throwing game, this doesn't mean that we would lose you send the 4 down, Brady Oliveira with a small curl route, you dish to him, and then he punches it down for a little bit more.
So when I
swear to God, if I keep seeing fucking screenplays going all the way down the field like a certain Tommy Condell, I think I may actually put my head through the wall that's right in front of me. So, because I've seen a little bit of that at times, and I'm like, Rick's dealt with enough of this shit. I don't need to too.
But I mean, when none of your receivers are open, obviously you're going to throw the screen pass.
I mean, yeah, when there's nothing, I would like somebody to be open. How about we have somebody open? Is that too much to ask for? Can not every person be covered?
I'm just curious to see which quarterback's going to throw the crazy amount of attempts this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I think before we go to make our pick'ems, we have to.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which,
we have to make the old Dutch pick'ems. Have the French come out with their pick'ems?
So the French has. Oh, yes, they have. Yes, they have.
Ooh.
So let me...
Can you send them to me? You have not sent them to me yet.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just give me 1 second.
I'm not sure if I'm going to like them or not. Because why do I have a feeling like the French are going to favor the team from Quebec?
Because I can tell you the English is not going to be your friend.
No, Pat Steinberg's going to be my friend. That's what I know.
And definitely not the French.
Yeah, no, I knew the French were going to pick him. Seriously, you could give the Bombers Patrick Mahomes and they still would have taken the fucking Alouettes.
There you go. I sent it to you on Discord.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. It bothers me that they put it backwards in the French one because the Alouettes Bomber game happens first. Why do they put the Calgary BC one first?
I don't know.
How can I trust their pick'ems if they can't even get their graphics department to do it properly?
Oh. You know what else I noticed that's going to make you pissed off?
What?
Is this. You're going to say there's a team missing.
Oh my god. Yeah, sure. Okay.
So,
like,
another interesting thing is, so CFL put on a poll on their Twitter.
Yeah.
Or
Is
X,
the poll, are we
know.
brain dead? And what was the result?
No. Which team will be heading to the Hammer for the East Final? Bombers 47.4%. Alouettes 52.6%.
Okay. You know what I'm hearing, Rick? I'm
a lot of blah, 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 blah,
hearing
blah, blah.
that a lot of people have decided to put themselves in hibernation. And they were in hibernation from the year 2018. And they have not watched Grey Cup playoffs since then. And that they need to be reminded how this sort of ordeal goes. And so, it is time for, like, I'll put it this way. This is exactly what I heard in 2019. This is exactly what I heard of. Oh, they're the third seed. They're not going to do anything. This team is not going to do anything. They're on fraud watch.
They're on fraud. Oh
It's
my god,
time.
that brings me that.
It is time for the Bombers to make a reminder. And this time, like, imagine this. The Bombers, just hear me out here, okay?
Yeah,
and this is potential. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just think of it this way, okay? The Bombers, 29-year Grey Cup drought, okay? They come in the third place spot, third seed. Everybody tells them nothing's going to happen. They win. They get into the West Final. They're playing against their arch nemesis, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What are they going to do? They're not going to be able to do it. It's not going to happen. Cody Fajardo starts his love affair with the uprights being at the front of the end zone and dings it right on it. And the Bombers go to the Grey Cup. They win the Grey Cup. They get it done against the Ticats, who had a long drought as well. Then the Bombers, robbed of the proper back-to-back in 2020. And then they're like, well, you know what? 2021 rolls around. We'll get the back-to-back that year. They get it done. Then, the next year, they're looking for the three-peat. They don't get it. Toronto snags it from them. The Bombers thinking, well, that was an off year. We got to get back to it. Nope. Alouettes snag it. Then they're like, finally, you know, the Argos held us back. The Alouettes held us back. We're going against the Argos again. And Chad Kelly's out. It's Nick Arbuckle in. We have chance for redemption. Doesn't happen. They lose it. They have the dubious honor of going to 5 Grey Cups with going in a row, winning the first 2, losing the next 3. The Bombers still haven't gotten the redemption they craved. It's crazy. They won 2 Grey Cups, but yet they still feel they need that. Imagine they have all these problems with these teams. And then they're like, you know what? We gotta tackle this issue head on.
The Bombers cross over into the East. And imagine if they won the Grey Cup out of the East. They become the first team to do so. The first team to go to the Grey Cup game from a crossover. Not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying there's potential. And the CFL script writers could pull some crazy shit on us. The Bombers can get that redemption they've been looking for. 3 seasons of getting so close, but not quite getting it. East semifinal. Old Dutch pick'ems. The English don't believe in him. Pat Steinberg's the only one who does. Pat Steinberg didn't go into hibernation. He's been here. Jamie and I hates the Bombers. We know this. Then the French love the French, so they were going to take Montreal because you could replace, like seriously, you could replace like Davis Alexander with a 5-year-old child, and they still would have taken the Alouettes. And so, and this is where we are. Am I a biased Bomber fan? You bet your goddamn ass I am. And I will be the first to admit it, that I am very biased towards my Bombers. And I will fully acknowledge that I am not saying that this is a guarantee that we will win this game. The Alouettes are a very formidable foe, and it's very possible that they could come out of this with the W. But god damn it, I believe in this fucking team. I'm taking Winnipeg. I am taking Winnipeg. I believe in this goddamn squad. I do. Ride or die, Bomber Nation for the W. Rick, now you need to make your pick, and I need to see if I'm happy or not.
I honestly don't even know what route to go. Because I don't know if I want to play the Alouettes, who we've beaten no problem without Alexander, or if Alexander is going to be the real test, or do we play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that we've lost one and beat them once this year? Like, if I had to predict which team I'd rather play, and this isn't anything towards your Bombers,
Okay.
I would say we would have a greater chance against the Bombers than we would the Alouettes.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys have Brady Oliveira. But the question mark is Nick Dembski.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys have Vadville. And you guys have Jefferson. We have probably the top secondary in the league. And we have 3 1,000-yard receivers. The only thing that I'm worried about is our run game. So, it's almost like, who would I rather play in the East Final? Is probably the Bombers.
Yeah.
So, my guess is I'm going to pick the Bombers, only because I would hate to play Alexander in the playoffs, and you don't know what you're going to get with him in the playoffs. At least with Zach Claros, it's a hit or miss. You could have a good game, or you could have a shit game. You could go either way.
So, you heard it here first, folks. We believe in this team. We believe in this strange conglomerate of players that are trying to keep the dynasty alive.
But now,
that's right. I said the word. I know that'll piss people off. 10 out of 10 rage bait.
Here's the other thing is, for those that don't know, me and Carter are both in the same pick'em group. I go with the Bombers on here, but do I go with the Alouettes on pick'em so I can pass Carter?
I'm not. No. Don't be fraudulent. I sent my pick'ems in. I just did it now. You send your pick'ems in.
No, I'm saying because I got
no take backsies.
I never said I was taking back the Bombers on here. I'm saying I gotta pass you. So now for pick'ems, I gotta decide if I want the Alouettes or if I want the Blue
fall
Bombers.
further behind.
Well, because I mean, if I take the Alouettes and I lose, then you're still gonna be ahead of me. So that's I have to.
Or you make a different pick out west. Who knows?
That's true. But chance
is there anything else?
Me or you? No.
I think we're both making the same pick out west, Rick.
Probably.
I think that's all that we got. I don't even know how long this video is because my clock thing screwed up.
40 minutes and 25 seconds.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video.
Fabulous.
This is a fabulous video.
East semifinal.
So, peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home. Make sure you comment down below what you think of this video because I know there's a lot. And we will see you guys.
I was going to say one thing. Either come Sunday or Monday when we do the review, either Carter will be pissed and angry and be like, woe is me, my life's over. I got to wait till the spring.
We're probably going to do it Sunday. I want to hop on this right away.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be happy that his Bombers beat the Alouettes, and he's going to be smiling from cheek to cheek.
Absolutely.
Because he'll still be going to the Grey Cup regardless of who's in.
That's true. Peace, love, and positivity, all you wonderful people at home. We will see you guys next time.